One. Go. I guess because Joey's not going to say anything, but welcome back to another week of On the Block NFL recap. Joey, take it away.
All right, guys. So week 2 is done, and there's some more surprises. Actually, now that I think about it, let me introduce everybody first. So Joe Fafari, Brandon Graham, Rob Tassona, and Igor Henriquez. Guys, Oakland Raiders are 2-0. Let's start there. I know, Rob, when we did the preseason show, we talked about the AFC West, and I think everybody had the Las Vegas Raiders finishing 4th place there. But they've surprised a lot of people so far, went into Pittsburgh and ended up coming out with the W there. So, Rob, we'll start with you. That's your division, and take us through that game and your thoughts on and that win over the Steelers.
Yeah, I'm a little upset. I thought the Steelers were going to cover, so they were one of my losses this week in my pick 6. I'm a little disappointed. I'm not really surprised, though. We talked about it on our pod where, they were like, well, we're surprised by Derek Carr. Derek Carr is actually not that bad of a quarterback. Now, I'm not really surprised because I expected Oakland to be like a 7-10 this year. 7-10, 8-9 team. They're going to hover around 500. They have a rah coach in John Gruden that's not really an X's and O's guys. He just gets up. So these big games they get up for. But Oakland's the team that they're going to throw away a lot of games to bad teams. I don't think they're that good of a team. I think they're a average to below average team. So people, like, I saw someone put them in their top 10 in a power ranking. It's like that's just based off a record then, and they're not there. They're a decent team that's going to give. They gave Casey trouble twice last year. That's just what Oakland does. So, like, good 2-0 start, but I still have them as the worst team in that division.
Brandon.
They come up. They played well on offense, of course, getting the ball to guys like Henry Ruggs, right? The guys that they've drafted. I know they drafted a lot of these, really highly talented players out of college. It's a good start, but once again, I think they're peaking too early. They're definitely peaking too early, and I think it's really going to bite them in, when it comes down to the home stretch, and more so in about 3 or 4 games from now. But they have a really favorable matchups coming up. They have some really favorable matchups. They can actually be, I think, 3-1 or 4-0 by the end of the next few weeks, right? Good win, really good win for them to actually go from the West Coast to the East Coast and still get it done. But I don't think it's sustainable at all.
Igor, your thoughts?
On the Raiders, it's I think one of the big parts of the game was definitely T.J. Watt getting injured for Pittsburgh. I think that changes the game for Pittsburgh in a lot of perspectives there. So I think that definitely helped the Raiders. Again, I didn't think they were going to win in Pittsburgh. It's a tough place to win, especially with the crowd there. So I'll give them credit. No number 1 running back. They still got it done with Peyton Barber and Kenyon Drake. A good team that with a solid defense that is being very opportunistic and taking advantage of other teams' the weak spots. I don't think Joe Hayden was there as well for Pittsburgh, so there was some deficiencies in that Pittsburgh D, and the Raiders took advantage of it. I still don't trust them to be a contender to do anything solid, but give them credit on a good 2-0 start.
All right, so at this point, what we're going to do is everybody's kind of going to pick a game that they want to speak about, whether it was overreaction, underreaction, or just, a game that they thought was a good one. I'm going to go to Arizona. And, guys, this was one of the games that we talked about earlier, a bit of a fishy line. I think it ended up dropping to 3, but it was 4 earlier in the week. Minnesota went up early. We were talking about it in the group chat, and Arizona ended up pulling it out. Minnesota, kicks that last-second field goal. I went out on a limb, as Brandon remembers, and I said Arizona has a shot to win this division. Now, it is probably the toughest division in football. Seattle did lose. Rams ended up winning, and San Fran pulled out another one in Philly. But Arizona, Kyler Murray, to me, Brandon, I know you talked about it as well. He was a sleeper for the MVP. Now you brought that up, either tied in the rankings with Patty Mahomes for odds-on favorite to win it, or he is second. And as long as Kyler Murray stays injured, that's a big if, but if he can stay healthy, this team, I think you really have to look out for them. We've talked about Chandler Jones and really how explosive he is on that line. The defense is coming together. Isaiah Simmons in his second year, he looks really good too. And those wideouts, 2 of the best in the game historically with Hopkins and A.J. Green. So I like what they're doing. I want to see when they play some division games. That's going to be a really good gauge on the thermometer to see how they're doing. But Arizona is a team I'm going to look out for just going forward. So that being said, Brandon, we'll throw to you and what game you like.
Shout out to the pride and joy of Purdue Boilermakers, Rondell Moore, by the way. He is an absolute nightmare. He's doing great things. Great pickup by the Cardinals to draft him. I think it was in the second round. Really good pickup by him because he's going to be a playmaker for years to come. But I'm going to go to Baltimore. Baltimore's 36-35 win over the Kansas City Chiefs. Lamar Jackson throwing a pick six to start the game to Tyrann Mathieu and kind of battling back. That defense kind of getting crucial stops. Of course, Clyde Edwards-Helaire had a really unfortunate fumble at the end of the game, but Lamar Jackson able to not be intimidated, come back and still put up some drives to move the ball with Marquise Brown, with of course Andrews as well too, and they're running the ball with Williams. Devontae Freeman got loose a few times, Latavius Murray, so on and so forth. They did a good job moving the ball and kind of controlling the line of scrimmage for the latter part of the game. So I'm going to give it to the Baltimore Ravens. That's a huge win for them. They're without their running backs, so they kind of turned the tide there. So that was a great game. Of course, Kansas City didn't cover, but screw them. But at the end of the day, still a great game.
I was just gonna say, I have the notepad here of the picks. I was the only one that took Baltimore last week on the spread, and to be honest, the only reason I know, Brandon, you touched on this, and we both talked about it, just how Patty Mahomes against the upper echelon QBs doesn't lose. And just because early in the season, I was like, he might pull it off, but I'm going to take that 4.5 points there. And they ended up covering and winning the game. And like I said, just backs against the wall. A lot of injuries for that Ravens team on both sides of the ball, but they ended up escaping. Igor, let's throw to you with your game.
To me, I think the biggest surprise of the week was just how badly the New Orleans Saints got trounced by the Carolina Panthers. I think, you look at that, what they did to Aaron Rodgers and the Packers in week one, and you're thinking, well, they could have a decent chance to go 2-0, but they absolutely collapsed. Jameis Winston looked absolutely terrible. The LASIK eye surgery, I guess, didn't work out as many people thought it was going to work out. But, he was absolutely dreadful. They're not getting anything out of the wide receivers. Callaway's not doing much. It looks really bad. Alvin Kamara had a really tough game. Again, you can maybe give the Carolina Panthers some credit, or maybe, the Saints missing 8 coaches because of COVID protocols, whatever it might be. But, man, that was something, I expected the Saints to win and to cover, to be honest. But, man, they were absolutely trounced, and it wasn't even a game by the fourth quarter. So something that's going to be interesting because now they got to go into Foxborough, which typically isn't very good to opposing quarterbacks. So we'll see if they were able to bounce back in week 3, but they were terrible, absolutely terrible.
One thing, too, first loss Patty Mahomes has ever had in September was against the Ravens, by the way. His first loss starting the game.
Yeah.
I think Joey's frozen.
I think we lost Joey because he really loved my take, and he just well, I guess we're going to go to Rob.
He's just there. Yeah, I go to Rob. Go ahead.
I think if I saw the stat correctly, this is the first time that Patrick Mahomes is not in first place, I think, in the AFC West, they said, in 4 years, which is unbelievable.
Wow.
You guys brought up a couple things. Joe, you talked about the NFC West. I have all four teams in the top 10 of my power rankings from the NFC West, all 4 in there. And Carolina, I have in the top 10 power rankings. So part of that in New Orleans going down. But the game I'm going to talk about, the game that I probably watched the most, I watched a lot of the Dallas or the Miami Buffalo game.
Yeah.
And, Miami did everything wrong and Buffalo did everything right. So I'm not going to talk about that game. But I'm going to talk about the Dallas game. I thought it was just a typical Dallas game where Dak played well. Dallas did everything right. They moved the ball on offense. They looked fluid. It was a game that was they probably should have won by a lot. And yet at the end, they have to kick a 54-yard field goal to win. It's so Dallas. They're celebrating like they won the Super Bowl after winning a game that they should have won by a lot. The last 2 minutes, I couldn't. The mismanagement of that clock. I'm starting to buy the Aaron Rodgers thing where he was like, Mike McCarthy's not really a good coach. I was sitting there as the guy that had Dallas everywhere to win. Forget cover. I had them to win a lot of that game. And I'm like, what are they doing? Now, luckily, they hit a 54-yarder that was – but Dallas does what Dallas does. It's just games that they should smoke teams. They're just squeaking by. And that'd be my takeaway from the weekend is Dallas is just an average middle-of-the-pack team that's going to struggle to win a bad division in the NFC East.
In the post game, Mike McCarthy said the clock I was looking at went away. The clock I was looking at went away. So no, Mike. So I think the thing that the teams have to do every team, game ops, just take away the clock that he's looking at, and you're going to win the game. He's terrible at managing it. That's literally what he said.
Well, I mean, but like that's not even an excuse because they could have called the timeout a long time ago and they could have moved the ball a couple more yards. Luckily, Greg the leg made it look like he hit the kick. If they had missed the kick, he would have been eaten alive by the Dallas media.
I totally agree. I think the other thing I want to bring up from last weekend, I'm not going to talk about Patrick Mahomes today because I'll bring it up down the road, but I'm a little worried about Trevor Lawrence, and it's not the fact that he's struggling. I mean, it's his second game. But if you look at the Trevor Lawrence timeline, and I was a college guy back in the day, you have him basically absolutely slapping, as Joey like to say, slapping Alabama. And we were like, okay, this guy's the first overall pick. Since then, every big game I've watched, non-ACC game, because the ACC, everybody knows, is garbage. Every big game, Ohio State twice and Alabama, he's been not good. Like really not good. And I've now watched him twice in the NFL. I'm starting to wonder if he's just like this physical talent that upstairs it's just not there.
Wow.
I'm not sure. I'm not saying he's a bust. I'm not saying he's a bust. I'm saying that I've now seen him in 5 games and he struggled in almost all of them. And like against Ohio State, one of the wins, like he looked awful, yet they're lucky to win. There was a really bad call, not a bad call, the new rules they put in about targeting. And it was, I just don't know if this guy is a legit number one can't miss prospect.
Does anybody want to?
Yeah, go ahead. So now that we see all of these quarterbacks and where they are, we didn't even bring up Zach Wilson.
I'm going to get up to Zach, but go ahead.
Okay.
All right. Go ahead.
What would your redraft order be? Like, would you can still have Trevor Lawrence in number 1, or would you have a guy like Mac Jones in the second week? Now it's kind of early. It's kind of fun.
My boy.
Top 5. Like I would still go Trevor Lawrence. I think that I just don't think it's all put on him. I think Urban Meyer's is really not a good NFL coach. I just don't think he's good. Plus, they don't have the pieces around him. I'm still gonna go Trevor Lawrence. Number 2, I'll probably go Trey Lance. Wow, that's a bad take by me. All right, yeah, I'm gonna probably go Trey Lance. And then you know what, Trey Lance, and I'm gonna go Fields, and then Zach Wilson, and then Mac. Those are my 5. Those are my 5. Those are my 5, man. Sorry. I'll switch Mac with Fields. Sorry, switch Mac with Fields. So let me do that one more time. Trevor Lawrence, Mac, Fields, Lance, and then Zach.
Lance went all the way to 4th. Okay, I was wondering.
I just switched everything. I switched everything up. Sorry,
and here's the one thing about again, I don't take much away from Zach Wilson because for whatever reason, man, Bill Belichick just destroys rookie quarterbacks. Like, and I actually saw something just before the show where someone was breaking down one of the interceptions.
A 12-year-old,
The O-line. You saw that?
That was a big breakdown. I saw that.
Yeah, the O-line, I have no idea what that was. They were like not covering like 2 guys.
They needed a map. They needed snakes and ladders to find who they were guarding. Yeah.
It was atrocious. And that's like, well, again, he threw like a ton of INTs, but man, they got to get their stuff together. I guess the only thing else that really irked me in the week is that what I'm not liking, and I'll get you guys' opinions on this. I'm hating this whole taunting rule garbage.
Oh, it was bad.
It's like, I don't know what some of these guys are getting away with and other guys are getting called for. To me, it's ruining a lot of the game, and I don't understand what's going on. I think a lot of guys are goading other guys. Man, you got to let these guys celebrate. You got to have them some kind of emotion, right? Like, it's just horrendous that you're getting called for all sorts of stuff. And then again, it's not even like game to game. It really depends on who's the official calling stuff. It makes absolutely no sense. And it was irking me watching the games. I'm like, that's absolutely ridiculous.
Yeah, I think it was in the Buffalo game, Rob. I know you were watching. And I guess we can talk about – there's so many things to talk about. But let me the Buffalo game there was a play where it was like a 3rd and long, and, the pass was not even close. There was some kind of – the cornerback was taunting, and they're like, 1st down. And I'm like, this is going to have a bad effect on –
Yeah.
Now, Miami didn't have line whatsoever. But go ahead, Brent.
Yeah. No, I was just going to say, like, even Bill Belichick said once, he's like, hey, if you make a play, like, you've worked your entire life to get to this point and work your butt off. Your people put sacrifice for you to get to this point. If you make a big play, and that's really hard to do, especially if you're having a sack, you pretty much, if you're a D lineman, you get probably like 15 sacks a year. Out of hundreds of times you're rushing the quarterback, you have to be able to celebrate. And if you are not able to, it's like, it just takes everything away from the game, and it's ruining the game. Like, there's no human motion. It's a no fun league, and they're gonna have to change it really soon because it's ruining the game, man.
If they want to take all the emotion out, just play like two-hand touch, man. Don't tackle anybody. Like
and draft Brandon Graham.
Just play two-hand touch.
There you go.
Flag football, like it's ridiculous.
Yeah.
You know what I don't understand? I don't understand. Like the NFL usually gets a lot of stuff right, and you change rules because it's a problem. I didn't think that was a problem. Like I didn't think there was a major taunting problem in the NFL.
I think there was. I think it's just guys just talking.
It's almost
I understand when guys do like stuff like over the top celebrations where they like Randy Moss mooning people and stuff like that. I completely understand that because that might cross the line. But like,
what about the Joe Horn cell phone?
Like even that was funny and interesting. Like, who did that actually harm? Nobody.
No one.
Like, if you get offended by that, it's absolutely ridiculous. If you get offended by a guy taking this or T.O. with the pom-poms, or I like that stuff. It made the game entertaining.
Yeah.
Like,
exactly.
I don't understand. Like, and then like, okay, so what's the difference between a guy doing a taunt or a whole team doing a celebration in the end zone of like a routine that they came up there with practice? To me, it's the same damn thing, anyways, because you're still talking the situations. Like, I was on Tampa in the Super Bowl. I had no problem with Winfield Jr. giving it back to Tyreek Hill because Tyreek, did that whole, thing into the end zone when they first met about him giving them the deuces. I had no issue with that. That's part of the game.
That's what it came down to, man. It's these owners, once again, saying, "Oh, we want that out." It's no respect. They probably have never played football in their life, and they're making these decisions, and it's just ruining the game. And I guarantee Goodell, again, everyone's good side again. He's like, "Okay, we're taking that out of the game because guys have to show emotion. They have to be able to kind of talk. Like that's what football is about, man. You got to be able to talk, and it's a competition, right? That's what it is."
These are alpha males with a ton of testosterone. A ton. Like it's gonna happen. And you know what? If you do something super, if you have too much, if you embarrass a guy, I get it. But showing emotion and kind of giving like the no catch thing, or just let most of it go. If it's over, like there was a rule in place that if you taunted a guy, it was a penalty. I don't know why they're cracking down on this to such a silly extreme. It doesn't make sense. I agree with you.
It's too subjective. It's too subjective, man.
It's just part of the. It's almost part of the game.
The thing is, like, it's gonna end up like one day. Well, maybe Joey mentioned the Buffalo game. It's gonna end up in a situation where that's gonna end up costing a team a game,
right?
The season,
or
the season,
the season even. It's gonna be absolutely stupid.
Right.
Guys, I wanted to talk about, if you guys have any thoughts, throw them in on any topic, but I want to talk about Zach Wilson and the Jets. And I did a show actually solo before the draft. I think maybe, Rob, it was around the time I jumped on with you. And I was talking about just kind of scouting quarterbacks going into a draft. And I think if you look back at the draft, there's been about, I want to say, like a 40 or 50% hit rate on quarterbacks, especially in the first round. And I look back, and I think, honestly, one of the best guys I ever saw throw the football was, drawing a blank, but the Oakland Raiders pick back in the day, Jamarcus Russell. Like, that guy had an arm, could throw for days, just didn't have it upstairs. And I don't know, but when I was watching Zach Wilson's pro day or the highlights from it, he threw the ball way too well that it kind of made me, have a lot of thoughts. And we've seen Wentz, who I believe went to South Dakota State or North Dakota State. With these guys that go to small schools, it's tough to scout them because, Rob, you brought it even about Lawrence. Like, you play in the ACC, that's a top conference, but it's still not that good. So all these guys that go to lower level divisions, even Trey Lance, and you're looking at these guys and you're saying, I don't know, like, how do we kind of evaluate these quarterbacks? Because, and I said this, Brandon, like, and you'll kind of understand this, like, if you're throwing and you have all day and you have protection in front of you to make all the passes, and on a pro day when you have guys running routes that everybody's going to look at, right? So, like, I don't know how if you look bad on those kind of pro days, then it's saying something. I think that what really separates the quarterbacks is, when the ends are coming at you, when you're getting pressured from up the middle, and you're running for your life, you have to make those accurate passes in tight windows right away. And you can't really tell in a draft or anything like that. And anyways, getting back to Zach Wilson, like I said, I didn't like it from what I saw in the pre-draft stuff. And then, it's only 2 games in, so I don't want to pull shoot, but he was the guy I was worried about, and I still am. Your guys' thoughts on him and what do you think about the Jets, maybe?
I mean, first and foremost, like, I've always been an individual that I don't like when rookies get thrown in right off the bat because, Zach Wilson, Trevor Lawrence, or whoever it might be, they have a lot of success in college, but the NFL game is a different type of game where the speed, other things really come into play. And again, they're not used to different defensive schemes, different systems, and so forth. And that's why a lot of these guys, that get thrown in there, they end up getting buried. Like guys like David Carr, Jamarcus Russell. And these
Josh
guys,
Rosen. Yeah.
Josh
Matt
Rosen.
Leinart, like the line goes.
And the situation there is, I like the whole Patty Mahomes type thing where these guys have a clipboard for a year, they learn, they get used to it, they practice a ton, and then they get thrown in there. When you throw some of these guys to the wolves, things like what happened to Zach Wilson are going to happen. Like I said beforehand, Belichick eats rookie QBs for breakfast for whatever reason. Sam Darnold, said he was seeing ghosts. Belichick has these schemes that really confuses rookie QBs that aren't used to some of the NFL schemes. And you saw it. Now, again, some of the interceptions were, tips and stuff like that. So some of them were unfortunate, maybe unlucky. But again, throwing these guys into the fire right away can sometimes be very detrimental. Mac Jones has been doing okay, me being a Patriots guy, but he's also been a guy that, ended up being at Alabama for a lot of years. So he was a little bit more seasoned than some of these guys were, in my opinion, at least. Is he going to have his struggles? Absolutely. He probably hasn't faced the top defense yet, and that'll give him issues. So, I just don't like getting these rookie quarterbacks thrown to the wolves because, especially when you're on really bad teams, and Trevor Lawrence is on a really bad team. They're not using James Robinson well at all. The Jets don't have a running game worth a lick. Corey Davis, I think, had caught one pass last week. So he's supposed to be the Jets.
I warned you guys, he's terrible. Yeah.
Yeah. So, it is what it is. When you throw these guys into the wolves with bad teams, they're going to have days like you just saw from Wilson and what Trevor Lawrence has been having. Because even Robinson, last year was phenomenal. Urban Meyer's not using him at all the way he was used last year, and it's showing.
Just quickly, just a sentence, and we'll throw to you, Brandon. Even I had said earlier going into the draft, because the Jets were so hell bent on trading away their quarterback just to go get another one, and I said it's tough to kind of. I think we all thought that when Darnold was traded, he was going to have more success than he showed with the Jets. Just a competent organization in the Panthers, some weapons there, and now the Jets, if they miss on this pick, and like I said, it's too early, but if you miss on this pick, another first-round pick blown. And, it sets your franchise back X amount of years when, this is probably a franchise issue and not just like the GM and everything, right? Because you just keep making these bad picks and, you end up firing coaches. You're not hiring anybody competent to make these decisions. And they're in this perpetual cycle, right? Like since Sanchez, who was barely average, they've had nobody.
Well, in a quick shot, what would have been the problem bringing in a guy like Teddy Bridgewater for a year and watching Wilson learn? He was a new head coach, would not have been under a lot of pressure. He'll have Wilson, learn a little bit, and then, maybe.
Well, that too, but why trade Darnold? Like he went third overall. Brandon, let's throw it to you. Get your take on it.
Yeah, I have so many opinions about what's going on here, and you see what happened with Darnold going in as a rookie and obviously having a tough time in New York, and now you see him flourishing. I just think that if you've already seen it fail once in the franchise, try a different approach. Like Teddy Bridgewater would have been just give him the bag. It would have been great, probably kind of transition there with a Zach. Well, Zach was. This is my take on Zach Wilson. I just hate in the pre-draft. Like I watch these guys in college, even from high school. Sometimes I watch these guys and see how they kind of come up. Zach Wilson has a good year, of course, in his junior year. Plays well, right? Has a good arm, but he's still with BYU. He's playing teams like Utah, right? He's not playing against the top. They lost to some. I can't remember what team they lost. I don't know if it's Coastal Carolina. They lost to some team. But he had some good days. He had some good production, of course, there. But he still lost. The guys like Justin Fields, guys like Mac Jones, they're at the top programs. They're playing. Every game is almost like a championship game because they have to win. It's huge implications. They're 1 or 2 or number 3 in the country. They have to win. Zach Wilson, he was literally probably the number 15. There's no pressure there. North Dakota State, Carson Wentz, Trey Lance. They're in FCS school, right? They're not in FBS school. So my thing is when guys in the pre-draft, through media, through all these guys say, "Oh, this guy's going to be the greatest." The media drives a lot of these players to be number 2, number 3, whatever it may be. And for some reason it does. And these high-end executives still choose one of these guys from smaller schools. If it were me, I would be choosing guys that have actually been through it, like a Mac Jones, like a Justin Fields, Justin Herbert. Even the Pac-12 still have played big games. I just don't like the fact that you go after guys that are from small schools and expect them to actually do something. I thought it was a terrible pick for the Jets to take Zach Wilson because I don't think he's ready for the moment. I think he's good, but I don't think he's as mentally prepared for those big moments as a Justin Fields or Mac Jones at all. That's my I have such a problem with that, honestly.
Rob, go ahead.
Oh,
Oh, you're muted. Yeah.
I'm muted. Sorry. I have so much to unpack right now. Like you guys came up with a lot of fire there. First of all, let's start with this. You can scout every position. Quarterback is the one position it's almost unscoutable. It's basically like it's impossible to scout, because here's the problem. You get a guy that goes to a big program and he's throwing to NFL wide receivers who are being covered by non-NFL wide receivers that have 5 yards of separation, where he's just got to lay a ball in. Compare that to, like, if you think about some of the best quarterbacks, Big Ben went to Miami, Ohio. Aaron Rodgers went to JUCO and then Cal. Tom Brady, a backup at Michigan. Russell Wilson transferred out of NC State and went to Wisconsin. Mahomes went to Texas Tech. Murray was at Oklahoma. Dak was, I don't even know where Dak, I can't even remember what school Dak came from.
Mississippi State.
Yeah, so you see that, like, a lot of these good quarterbacks come where they don't have a guy that's wide open. They've got to throw guys open. So it's really hard to, like I had no problem with Wilson going to BYU. The problem is he's small. He throws a really good football, but he had a lot of bad games against good teams. And that's kind of my thing with Trevor Lawrence, where he had bad games against good teams. That's the one thing that's worried about me. Now, where you land matters. So we have Mac Jones, who landed in the perfect spot. Bill Belichick, they had a statue before in Tom Brady, and Mac Jones is basically just going to be the next, pocket quarterback. They're going to protect him. I thought that the Jets drafting Wilson was a mistake. I think that Carolina got the steal in Sam Darnold.
Yeah.
I would have given Sam Darnold, unless Zach Wilson was an unbelievable talent. I thought you could have traded him, get a ton of assets, because you would have still had teams come up for a quarterback. You would have had teams come up for the tight end at Atlanta. Kyle Pitts. Yeah. You could have gotten assets like crazy that would have helped Sam Darnold, give him a real shot. Yeah. Zach Wilson is in an awful spot. Their O-line is okay. They started rebuilding it last year. They took the guy to Louisville in the first round, but he doesn't have really any weapons. It's a bit of a dysfunctional franchise. The last great quarterback they had was Joe
Namath.
Chad Pennington. Yeah, right.
Pretty decent, actually.
He's not that great. Yeah,
it's just like he's in a bad. Zach Wilson is going to fail. He is going to fail. Absolutely. It's just I wanted the Broncos to trade for Sam Darnold. I thought his value was so low, and if Sam Darnold goes to a different franchise or Zach Wilson goes to a different franchise, it might be different for some of these guys. For Aaron Rodgers, it didn't matter where he went.
In every sport, yeah.
Yeah,
the situation you go to is a big thing.
The top guys will make it work anywhere. Mahomes goes anywhere, he's going to look good. Russell Wilson goes anywhere, he's going to look good. But these fringe, like not fringe guys, but middle of the pack guys, if you don't go to the right spot, so Zach Wilson's not. I don't think he's going to work. He's small, and he's with the Jets. Like, tell me, look at their track record.
I think that he has an arm. Like, the arm talent's there. Like you said, the size and everything. I want to watch more before I make a decision. I just have this thing. I talk to my buddy Dan about this every pre-draft. The year when quarterbacks are supposed to be drafted, like Leinart, for example, because I remember back to them when I followed college very closely. He was supposed to go first overall. That was when he was with Reggie Bush. Stayed back another year. I think he went like 10 or 11 to like Arizona. They pick apart your game. You're not the new shiny toy anymore, like Zach Wilson was this year, right? Like Fields, Brandon, me talk about this forever. Like, it's supposed to be 1-2 with Trevor and Fields. Fields like, I don't know what's happening. They slides down. Like, I'm with you guys. I like guys from bigger schools but at the same time, like, I look at schools like, other than, USC, Carson Palmer was the only guy I could think of that actually succeeded. Everybody else that came from there, and the list goes on and on.
John Booty.
That failed. John Booty, I was going to say, there's a bunch of guys that had like the cowboy names that were all there. None of them succeeded. But Rob, quickly, you talked about the Patriots and guys fitting in. They also thought they had something in Garoppolo, right? They thought he was the guy. They traded him. We're not going to get into why. And he's still a competent quarterback. You guys remember Ryan Mallett was supposed to be a steal that guys thought that was, supposed to come. So, like, I don't want to talk like Bill's the greatest because in terms of drafting, the drafting is not, right? And we know that. But I'm going to open the floor to any topic you guys want to jump in.
Finish off on that. Like, so are you guys okay with starting like rookies right off the bat, or would you rather wait?
No. Wait, man. Wait.
Wise. Yeah.
Yeah, I'm like, if I'm the Patriots, I'm okay with it. Like, I think that's a good spot for Mac Jones. I think that he's gonna learn. I would throw him out there. I think he's got a good line. If the quarterback's got a bad line, then you're probably gonna want to not put him out there. But
Okay.
go ahead. You go.
So in certain situations, you're okay with it, but in most depending on the circumstances, you probably would wait.
I watched Patrick Mahomes. His first game ever was Week 17. It was a throwaway game because they had against Denver. And after the first half, I was like, "Oh my God, this is the greatest thing I've ever seen." It was.
Yeah.
He could have started from day one. So I guess it's circumstantial, but
these are generational guys, right? Like that. Like you said, like it doesn't happen often that you're seeing this.
I know.
I think that's the situation, though. I think that's because he came. Andy Reid had Alex Smith. Alex Smith was playing. He's very serviceable, playing very
good,
well.
Yeah.
Right, and it was kind of like a controversy there because like they're still moving the ball with Alex Smith, right? They have Tyreek, they have Travis Kelce. Sorry, I didn't want to kind of interrupt there, but yeah, which if you think about it, like the Browns, for instance, drafting Baker Mayfield, he went number one, I'm pretty sure, and went number one. Now they have assets where they've actually backed him up with over the years, but he's always kind of shown that he can kind of step in there. But he still had Tyrod Taylor to start. With Mac Jones. I honestly I'm kind of scared. I'm kind of scared with Mac Jones. I'm kind of scared. I kind of wish they kept not Cam Newton, but kept a veteran quarterback that's actually serviceable to start. Not like Matt Nagy being like, "Oh,
no, I thought you were gonna go with Brian.
No.
And I'm like, no way.
No. Like a perfect guy would be Tyrod Taylor. Tyrod Taylor is like the perfect guy to have in front of a guy. Like I'm kind of scared for Mac Jones because I just don't want. They're gonna protect him. He's gonna be a game manager. But I still want him to have like a year of like learning, and then I know he's gonna be right. He's gonna be Tom Brady 2.0.
I think like Patty Mahomes, like Aaron Rodgers learned under Brett Favre for a while. Brady learned under Bledsoe for quite a bit. I think it just helps these guys, and again, some guys get killed early and then they never recover. Sam Darnold, I'm happy for his success in Carolina because he looked like a guy that might be on the cusp of being a real problem, and it looks like it's working out for him, which is great. But yeah, maybe had he stayed in the Jets, it would have been a different situation. But yeah, you just never know if you throw him in. Like I still have with Carr and in Houston, how they just destroyed him for all those sacks. He never really recovered. So a lot of guys get like dismantled early and then they're done for.
It's so tough, man, as a quarterback or like judging quarterbacks because there's two things, right? There's just pure talent. There's talent. There's O-line. There's the weapons you give. If you have a running game, and I always say like even Ryan Tannehill, sorry, like he's not my favorite quarterback, and I'm a Titans guy. Like if you take away Derrick Henry from that offense, I think that he's a below average quarterback. But when you have that threat there, guys are getting some separation. It's a different beast. And like I'm even thinking back to Philly when when Vic was there, they had Kevin Kolb. Like guys just aired the ball out in certain systems. So it's tough to cut. And obviously, they didn't have long-term success. But even Brand, you're talking about Mac Jones. Like this is a guy because I follow the draft too. Like he was a second, third round guy. Like leading into like preseason, midseason. All of a sudden, it's like like Alabama. And I'm like, I'm not really sold on it now. He's had success so far. He's not exactly airing out the ball. They're not exactly lighting up the scoreboard. But we know that at least he's not a bust for the time being. He
game manager.
Like right?
He's a game manager.
But when people start saying like, "Oh, Brandon," sorry, Tom Brady, like it's like, okay, like let's pump the brakes because we'll get to Tampa in a second if you want to. Go ahead, bro. Yeah.
Hey, I'm not comparing him to Tom Brady. I'm saying they're similar in terms of they can't move. They're statues. And I'm not saying Bill Belichick is a great drafter because everybody whiffs on quarterbacks, but Garoppolo was actually a good pick, and he wanted to keep Garoppolo. If you guys don't know the story,
he wanted to keep him.
I think Patriot. I'm sure Igor knows like what happened behind the scenes with that, but it was.
It's always been the Patriot way to try to get rid of guys before they're too old, and that was going on with Tom and so forth. And
it's happened forever, man.
Yeah,
like Lawyer back to Chandler Jones.
Yeah,
like they got rid of him.
Like every situation that Bill likes to get rid of a guy a year early rather than risk doing nothing a year later. It's always like Lawyer Malloy. I can name Vince Wilfork. I can name a bunch of different guys that Bill has gotten rid of. All of a sudden.
There was a linebacker they got rid of too, or maybe it was Vrabel. They traded one of them for second round.
Van Noy too. Van Noy as well.
Seymour, Richard Seymour was traded to Oakland, I believe.
Yeah, for a first round pick.
Bill's a savage, man. Bill's an absolute savage. He does not
Jimmy Collins, Jimmy Collins was great. Got traded to the Browns. All of a sudden, I was like, "What the hell?" He was a great linebacker. What the hell's going on? Like he doesn't want to big guys. Like what they did this offseason, I thought I would never see the day where they spent like the most money in their history in the offseason because he doesn't
get average players. Yeah, we did it.
And again, the team's better, but yeah, it's not that much better.
I have
it's
a
so
theory.
better than. Sorry, go ahead.
I have a theory about that. I have two things. I said that they knew they can't throw outside the numbers with Cam or whoever started, so they needed tight ends.
Yeah.
Exactly, because they can't throw the football. Yeah.
Yeah, and two, the other thing was their ex-girlfriend Tom Brady left and said, "You never gave me weapons." It's like, when like a girl says, toy. "Yeah, you don't buy me jewelry and leave," the next girl you buy jewelry for. So he almost admitted, like, he was like, "Yeah, we got to get some weapons." There's no coincidence that Tom Brady leaves, wins the Super Bowl, and now all of a sudden Bill Belichick spends in free agency, which he never ever did.
And even then, like the guys that he spent money on the offensive side of the ball, like, to me, I thought Aguilar was good with the Raiders, but he was like, he couldn't catch a ball with the Eagles. I like the tight end situation, but they're still pretty weak at wide receiver. Kendrick Bourne is okay. I like Jacoby Myers, but it's not an offense that's going to scare anybody.
Nope.
No.
Yeah.
But
leave it to the Jets to just start up this dumpster fire. But one thing I will say is, like, they much better weapons than the Jets. The Jets have Corey Davis. If Corey Davis is your best receiver, and Jameson Crowder is supposed to be out of the league like 2 years ago. If those are your best receivers, you just play in the CFL. Like, they have nothing.
What happened to Elijah Moore? I heard all this preseason hype about Elijah Moore. I haven't seen anything. Like, what the hell?
Zach Wilson.
Any separation.
Zach
Who's
Wilson.
is that the Florida wideout they took in the first round?
No, that's the Ole Miss
yeah.
guy. Yeah. He's good. He's not bad.
The little
he's
guy. Is he a slot?
He's the guy that did that. Yeah, he's a slot guy. He's the guy that did the little pissing action against Mississippi State. Remember that? It went viral. He's that guy. Yeah.
That's the guy you got. Good. Perfect. Yeah. That's the guy you want.
Let's
DK, AJ Brown.
No taunting penalties coming there at all.
Yeah.
Let's go back to week 2. I'd be remiss if I didn't talk about the Titans. I went against them, and to be honest, I watched the second half. I know you saw about the other guys, but they were getting, I want to say, dominated for most of the game. Derrick Henry came to life. They're still getting eaten alive on the deep ball there. Russell Wilson probably throws the best deep ball in the league. He really exposed them there. So I am worried about the team. I'm kind of happy that they won, because 0-2 would have been a bad look, and the schedule doesn't really get any better. They got the Colts this week. They never play well against the Colts, especially at home. I'm expecting a Colts win. That might be my log for a Saturday show. But,
wow. Remember, Wentz is out, though, right? They might not have Wentz.
Yeah, no, I know he sprained both his ankles, but they just Tennessee, no matter from time, they've never done a good job against Indy. They don't score against them. So, Igor, I know you watch the game, so we'll start with you. Your thoughts on that game?
Again, and you summed it really up. I think the Titans secondary is just rough. Like, I saw Tyler Lockett just destroy them on a couple of deep plays, and his secondary still hasn't improved. I talked about it last week. It was definitely a rough situation. The first half, Derrick Henry looked average at best, and then in the second half, he just took off where they just kept feeding him. And again, he's a big running back. You feed him the ball in the third and fourth quarter. Guys are tired. He's going to take advantage. They're not tackling the way they were early on. They really toughed it out. They toughed it out, and it was a definitely good win. I basically cracked the joke that as soon as I saw Geno Smith out there for the coin toss in overtime, I knew their Titans were going to win.
They're cooked. Any jet you put out there, it's done.
I have no idea why you would send Geno Smith out there, but as a captain, man. But anyways, you know what? Like I said, the offense, I'm a little bit concerned. AJ Brown hasn't really gotten it going, so that will happen eventually. I like that. The Julio TD
that we talked about.
Yeah, we thought that was a TD. I don't know what they saw there that wasn't a TD, but
I think it was.
I think it was a TD there, so that was a bit of a situation. But like I said, as long as the running game gets going and you get the wide receivers involved, you'll be good. It's the other side of the ball that's a problem, and also the offensive line. I know you don't like Taylor Lewan. He got injured before the game, so that really weakened them over there at the tackle position. But yeah, they got to keep including Henry in the running game. And again, just playing a little bit better on the secondary on defense, because that right now is an absolute. I think they'll beat the Colts, because I don't think that Wentz will play. And even if he did, I still think they would beat the Colts, because I think Wentz looks fidgety out there. I think he wouldn't have the same kind of deep ball accuracy or anything like that. So that should be a W there to get him to 2-1. But yeah, the secondary is a little bit of a mess.
I'll just throw in a quick sentence. Like if I'm game planning against the Titans, it's pretty simple for me. It's stack the box, see what you can do to take Derrick Henry out of the game, and force Ryan Tannehill to make some throws. And if he's going to make some throws, God bless his heart, because you deserve to win. And then just if you're a quarterback and you can throw, you're not Cam Newton, and you can throw 15 yards, throw it over the linebackers every time, and you're cooking. Brandon will throw to you.
I just think that secondary is just piss poor. Kevin Byard is a shell of himself these days, and he used to be really good. I just don't like the secondary for the Titans at all, right? I just think that they need to improve that at some point, or they're not going to be able to win the AFC, anything in AFC in general, right? That's one thing. Secondly, what I was going to say, so I'm getting all of these things kind of mixed up right now. But what I will say is that, of course, the Seattle should have won. This is the game they should have won. They were dominant at the start of the game. Russell Wilson was moving the ball. The defense obviously struggled. It's just a lot. Julio did score, by the way. That's definitely a score. That game was just it was so confusing and frustrating to watch at some points. I'm like, okay, I do have Derrick Henry on my fantasy team. Great. Obviously, he's cooking. But at the same time, like, it's just back and forth. And Ryan Tannehill, I don't know what his decision making sometimes. Not really a big fan of it sometimes. Just not a big fan of it at all, right? But it was just one of those games where it was really confusing to watch, and it kind of made me angry. I'm like, what am I watching right now? It was just so confusing what was going on back and forth. But at the end, obviously, it was a good game and how they wrapped it up.
Rob,
I was so dialed into the Dallas game, I didn't really watch much of this. Your description, Joe, of stopping the Titans, that's basically the Lamar Jackson strategy in the playoffs. Stack the box and make him a thrower. That's what teams have done to him. But I didn't really watch the game, but this is what I will say. This is the only takeaway I have. The AFC South winner, who will be a home team, will be an underdog against the wild card road team in the playoffs. I don't know who's going to win, whether it's Indy or Tennessee, but whoever they play, they will be the underdog. That division is not very good. I don't think very much of the Titans. Sorry, Joe. It's just, I mean, what do they do that's special outside of their running back is unbelievable.
Here's the thing, guys. And I want to cut for a second. I take a lot of pride in everything I do, just being a realist. You know what I mean? And I know a lot of guys that will ride for their team. I'm not going to mention any names, but a lot of people that ride for their team and they're delirious. But I've always kept it 100. You know what I mean? And like the Titans, I've always called it as it is. Their defense back in the day used to be very strong. It's not there anymore. Javon Curse is not there. They're trash. Okay, so like those days are gone. What they do have is an explosive offense. They've always had good running backs, from Chris Johnson up until now. So I'll throw back to you, and there's no offense taken, just to clarify.
Are they explosive offense? Like, I just look at the Titans.
I think the last 3 or 4 years they've had a track record of being a good offensive team.
I don't see much here, and we live in a world. Listen, I'm a Bronco fan. We have an electric roster, but we just don't really have a quarterback, so we don't really have a Super Bowl chance. It's just the Titans are I don't know what they're great at outside of Derrick Henry being like an absolute stud. Because I don't like the quarterback. Their O-line's pretty good. Their weapons are.
Needs a Kleenex.
I gotta say, because Jay had brought up the Javon Curse, the freak.
Oh, great!
I love that. To me, one of the most memorable plays that I ever watched was when he absolutely crucified Rob Johnson on the Bills from behind. I thought he absolutely murdered him. He just destroyed him, and I never forgot the play because it was a heck of a play off the snap count. He just crucified him, and he literally buried him into the ground. But yeah, hell of an athlete. I mean, I love the freak. I think I actually had a Javon Curse jersey back when I was younger at some point.
To be honest, him and Eddie George were the reason I was.
I think we all liked that team with the Kurt, the freak. And who didn't like Eddie George, and who didn't love the great late Steve McNair, man?
Frank Wycheck, they had Kevin Dyson was there. That's the Super Bowl.
Music City Miracle.
The Music City Miracle.
Yeah, that might have been the same game where he nailed Rob Johnson. I think that might have been Rob Johnson.
It was the Music City.
Yeah, the same game. Had to come in the game. That might have been the same game. Yeah.
But it's just that division is that division is so bad. I don't take whoever wins that. Even Indy, if Indy wins, I'm like, all right, well, you're going to be an underdog against Baltimore or Cleveland or whoever you kind of get in the playoffs. So,
is that the worst division in football, by the way?
Yeah,
I think that's the worst division. Is that the worst division in football?
NFC North is next. I
No,
would say.
they still
NFC
the
East.
Dallas.
Yeah.
The
Oh,
Dallas
yeah.
division is still worse than that, I think.
Yeah,
It's
true.
like I maybe
I don't know.
Washington hasn't shown
I
anything.
don't know, man.
Philly,
I mean,
at least there you could say that you have maybe two decent playoff. Like I still think that the Dallas Cowboys, even if they win the division, will still be an underdog too. I can see that happening too.
Yeah, more than likely. I remember the NFC West used to be the joke of football for the longest time, but obviously that became one of the stronger ones. Guys, as we kind of wrap it up, we'll go around the table if anybody has any last thoughts just on any games or anything. We're going to get together on Saturday and do the betting pod, but Rob, do you want to go first?
I'd love something. I have my NFL power rankings for my other, and I think they're a little bit off. So I'd love to hear your guys' opinion, being the football specialist that we are. My power rankings, I had Carolina at 10. It was a bit of a shock for my boys. I had San Fran at 9, might be a little low. I had Seattle at 8, Arizona at 7, Buffalo at 6, Green Bay at 5, Cleveland at 4, LA at 3, the Rams, KC at 2, Tampa at 1. I don't know if I went too fast.
I just think Cleveland is the one that sticks out to me. I think Cleveland there is a little bit too high.
Too high. I just love their roster. I think that's one where I think what I said was 2 and 3, 1, 2, 3, probably not going to move. I think those will be the top 3 teams all year, at least top 2. KC and Tampa are going nowhere. And then there's going to be a little rotation between 3 and 4 to 9, because even San Fran at 9 could be low. So I think the 10 spot is going to be rotated with throughout the year with Carolina and Baltimore.
What about Buffalo?
Las Vegas. You have Las Vegas in there?
I don't. I'm not a. I don't. I think they're a fugazi. I think they're
really.
You're a Broncos fan. Why not?
Yeah. I don't know. I've seen this. I see this all the time from John Gruden teams. Like, they win every week 1. It seems at home. But I had Buffalo at 6. I don't know if I trust.
Buddy, Josh Allen, is it a regression?
Did you have Baltimore in there at all? Sorry, I'm trying to go back.
I did not. I put Carolina ahead of them. I think.
Wow. Okay, that's wow. Okay, yeah, go ahead.
It's interesting, but I don't know who do you take out and put in for Baltimore? Is it Carolina comes out and Baltimore goes in?
Well, I mean, I didn't. I mean, definitely wasn't sold on the Panthers really doing much this year, but I guess based on the Baltimore injury situations and what they've shown so far, I think Carolina will end up 3-0 because I think they'll win tomorrow. So. I mean, so far they've been pretty good. I don't know if it's sustainable and on overall talent, maybe not. But I mean, right now, yeah, I'd probably say that's reasonably there. It's not a huge reach, that's for sure.
I think you hit it. I think it was the no running backs. It's just too much for Lamar. I think they're gonna struggle down the stretch. It's just too much for the poor guy. Like that's a lot to ask for one guy. Like his endurance, his stamina all year. You can't be running back and quarterback. You got to be one.
And their wide receiver not too strong either.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, yes. Rashad Bateman's supposed to come back next week. That's one thing. But I think I would put Baltimore there. I don't think I don't think Williams, Freeman, or Latavius Murray have been terrible. I think the Lions played really well. I think their Lions played actually pretty well. And Lamar has done what he's had to do, and he's done this throughout the past 2 years. He's sustained it throughout 16 weeks. We'll see how it is with 17 weeks. But I think I would put them in there. I know everyone's saying, Las Vegas is kind of fugazi, this and that, but they play well. Their defense is actually legit. I think their defense is legit. It is John Gruden, so that's probably brings them down the power rankings. And I think I would have Buffalo a little bit higher because I'm a believer in Buffalo Bills. I actually believe in Josh Allen. Yeah, I actually believe in them.
I will say from watching the 2 Kansas City games, and I know they played some 2 pretty good offenses. That defense is in trouble quite a bit. So I think I saw some glimpses, but the way that they really couldn't handle much of what Lamar was doing after he figured it out after the first quarter. I'm a little concerned that they're going to need to score 35 points a game because that defense isn't living. And again, we'll see what happens. I think they got the Chargers this week. That'll be another decent offense with Keenan Allen and Eckler and Williams and so forth, and see how they do. I'm probably going to pick them in Survivor because I don't think they'll lose at Arrowhead, but I'm not going to say that I'm, 100% sure that, that they're going to, because I think, they definitely have some situations going on with that line and so forth. So a little bit of a rough go. I'm a little bit concerned about the D.
Okay,
Yeah.
quick thought. I'm just gonna throw in a sentence and I'll throw it to you, Brandon. Now that I think about it, first of all, obviously Kansas City hasn't had a good defense from as far back as I can remember with this roster. And then also you take around those Honey Badger picks, and maybe that's a different game too, right?
Yeah.
That's another thing I thought of. 2 interceptions there that really, took the window to Baltimore. Still ended up winning. Brandon, we'll go to you.
I was just gonna say, I was gonna go into like what your survivor picks would be for this week and whatnot. And going back to what you said, Igor, when Sorensen's your leading tackler, that's definitely a recipe for disaster. He's a good player, but that's not good for that defense at all. And I think they're gonna have to. I honestly just think Baltimore had a good game plan. Harbaugh trusted Lamar, and Lamar just I think he had a good game despite the first pick, right? But I'm gonna give my survivor pick. I don't know if this is what you want to do. Joey. You said Kansas City against Chargers. I think that's a really risky one. I know they're in Arrowhead, but it's still a risky pick for me. I'm having a lot of trouble with my survivor pick this week. A lot of people are kind of leading a little bit more to like the the Raiders. Some people are saying Raiders over the Dolphins, Broncos over the Jets. Those to me are really. I don't want to put my trust in a John Gruden or in the Nick Fangio. I just don't know if I can do that. But I do think Denver's defense is legit. I do think Denver is good. I actually do think Denver is actually a good team, right? And that's obviously, hopefully Rob feel good about that. Sorry, I was laughing really hard when you said like, hey, no offense to your team. I'm sorry, I was still at 9. But I think this week is kind of tough for the survivor, to be honest.
So who's your pick?
Sorry. What did I say? No, I think I did pick. Initially, I picked. Good question. I already picked them and double check. I think I took the Cardinals over the Jags. That's one I did choose. And I think another one. Yeah, I know. And there's another one I chose. Yeah, and then I chose the Broncos over the Jets.
And then the other big spread here is Buffalo's at home 9.5 to Washington. That's another big one.
Wow, that's really big spread.
Anybody taking Carolina tomorrow to just do it and just get the survivor?
Okay, so I don't know how much you guys want to talk about next week. Not too much because we'll get together on Saturday. But Igor, so that we talked about this in the chat. So originally, I think Carolina was at like 3 or 4.
Yes, and
at that point we knew that Tyrod was pretty much going to be out, and Tua is out too, which is a different story. Miami might be better, but it went up to 8. I have a feeling, and sorry, Brandon, when you were talking about Baltimore eking out that win, Baltimore had a lot of things go wrong. I talked about the picks. Sunday Night Football at home. I just think that, like I said, I thought that was a good spot there for them. Primetime games, the home team. I don't really like taking the away team there. Now, I know that spread's an 8. I love Houston plus the 8. We're not going to do spread picks there, but I think it's a risky pick for anybody taking that Carolina by 8 there, because I think Houston showed us that they can score points, and their defense is not too bad either. They're not as bad as we thought they were.
But can the again a QB, an unknown QB, actually manage the game there? And again, the Carolina front 7 again by 8, I probably would agree with you. I'm just thinking about just winning the game, just getting that survivor done, and I'm still like I have said, I put down Kansas City, but I might just change it to Carolina and live a little bit dangerously. Because again, Houston with that second string QB, Carolina playing well. I don't know.
Living dangerously with an 8-point favorite.
That's really dangerous.
I'll take Carolina in that survivor thing. I'll take them.
Okay.
Yeah, there you go. So Joey, who are you taking?
I can't reveal my picks online anymore. I can give a Fugazi pick and like a dog that I'm gonna throw in under. I wrote out the schedule here, guys. Originally, when I looked at it, I was like, okay, what are the easiest picks here? Because I wanted to kind of cut a promo on this on the self thing and just say, like, if you're doing a survivor pool, you have to think about like, okay, what needs to happen for this team to lose, and what better, I guess, story can you kind of do other than, Denver's at home. I thought 11 was a little bit high. I think the Jets were probably going to cover the spread. But Denver's historically been, as everybody knows, a great home team. Their defense is swarming. Now I see Chubb's going to be out. He might be out for a while. But with Wilson as a first-year quarterback who's looked terrible, I think, best case scenario, he, looks okay in this game, but it's going to be tough against that defense. I think that Denver here is the easy pick. But I guess I'll leave it at that, the 11-point favorite.
Yeah, I mean,
a lot.
I'm not risking all that money on Matt Rule and the Panthers to win on the road. I don't know.
I love Matt Rule.
I'm not. Yeah, he's decent. Yeah, he's decent.
I'm betting against the rookie quarterback.
Yeah,
that's what I'm doing.
I guess look at sounding. I mean, the Denver picks does sound. It's just one of those things where I don't know. traditionally that teams bounce back. I don't know. It's definitely interesting.
You guys can definitely save it for the Saturday since if you're not taking Carolina.
Yeah.
Just hold on to it and let's talk about it. Let's talk about it Saturday.
Let's do
Yeah,
that.
we'll do that. I guess lastly, I'll just throw in a few things. Rob, you did your top 10. I'm just going to mention a few teams that I think are going to be around. Well, actually, one team. I don't think you had New Orleans in there, did you?
Nope. No.
And I think that New Orleans is a team that at the end of the year, they're just going to get better. I know we've talked about Winston a lot, but I think that it's his first year starting with the team, and I think they have to get some kinks out. Michael Thomas, I'm assuming, is hopefully going to come back at some point this year.
Yeah.
I still really like the
hate him.
defense.
I think they got a ceiling though. I think there's a ceiling there now with Jameis. That's my opinion.
But do you think that the ceiling's lower than when Breeze was there?
Yeah. Just we know Jameis is going to have bad games and good games. He's going to throw you out of games just as much as he throws you in games. So,
well, I think
we got to
New
wait
Orleans
for all the
is gonna
coaches
be
to come
top
back.
10 team.
Yeah, they're also missing half their staff.
Yeah.
Might have been a problem.
Looking
Any
back,
last
that would have been a
prospect?
good bet for the weekend.
I've been a lot of money.
Yeah.
You're hammering on that.
I wish
Yeah.
I could have gone back on that Saints pick for sure.
Do we have
wish I could go.
the records from last week?
So,
Or
do you want the full records or just the ones of the 5 that we did?
Just keep Cincinnati out of there.
Okay, so I'll just
record.
do the 5. I'll just do the 5 for now. I'll do them in order that I wrote them. So Igor, your spread picks. Now that I'm looking at it, actually looks well. Okay, you have Buffalo. Sorry, they covered. San Fran covered. New Orleans did not cover. Dallas covered, and Kansas City did not cover. So, Rob, you took Chicago, Kansas City, Buffalo, Carolina, and Dallas. So it looks like Rob only got Kansas City wrong, actually. So it looks like I think
That's pretty good. That's pretty good.
That means I'm having a
Brandon?
bad week next week.
Brandon, we went over your ticket pregame. I'm gonna put you on blast right here. We got
Yeah,
Kansas
I
City.
was drinking the Kool-Aid. I was drinking the Cincinnati Kool-Aid for some reason. I'm like, oh, big win. Gonna go right into Soldier Field and dominate. No, complete opposite.
Too much Kool-Aid. So okay, we'll start with there. Cincinnati on the 2.5 didn't. They came close at the end.
Yeah, they did. They came back.
Field nearly handled the game. Yeah.
Arizona did not cover. Escaped with a win on the missed field goal. Dallas
that's a surprise. That's a surprise.
Which one?
That's Arizona. I thought Arizona was definitely going to cover at some point.
That line was funky.
Okay,
Yeah,
let me get through this, and I want to talk about funky lines in a second. So then you had Kansas City. Yeah, Kansas City didn't cover, and you had Buffalo who did. So 1, 2. Yeah, you went 2 for 3, which I think most of us did. I'll go through mine. I guess I took Detroit on the +11. Don't know why. I took the Chargers +3.
Detroit.
Dude, I went 1 for 4. Wow. I had Miami, which I hit the lock button on that one.
So Rob's in first and I'm in second.
Tennessee, yeah,
that's funny.
Getting back to fishy lines, because I think there's going to be a theme for the year as like a veteran gambler. We talked about it at the beginning with the Carolina line that was very fishy at the 3 or the 4, whatever. I think it was at 4, coming off that massive win in Green Bay. And the other fishy one was Arizona, 4.5, which went down to 3. And I know that they stormed back to take the lead, but Minnesota should have won that game.
I mean, I kind of agree with Brandon because I was watching that Arizona game really hardcore because I got Kyler Murray in pretty much every fantasy team. So that pick 6 right at the beginning of the half really ended up turning a lot of the game a little bit. Minnesota really wasn't that great on offense, but the turnovers, a couple of INTs by Kyler really kept them in the game. They should have probably won it by a touchdown, but they easily could have lost on that field goal. So I was and then they had an opportunity with like a minute left. They're at the 10-yard line and they couldn't score, and that's when I knew like, damn, there goes the spread right there. But yeah, it could have gone either way. But I think Minnesota, again, got off to a nice start, but like Arizona should have won that game by a touchdown.
Definitely. Yeah, Brandon, I think you said the message right away. Minnesota went up 7-0 early.
Yeah, exactly. It was just they should have won by way more, and it just didn't happen. It's really weird. It's really weird. It really pissed me off.
I've been gambling a long time, and one thing I realized is when you see a fishy line, it means all the public is betting it. And I always think those casinos in Vegas are not that big and not that beautiful from the public winning. So when there's a fishy line, it means stay away.
Stay away from it.
It's stay away. That's the rule. Last year, a lot of fishy lines hit though. It seemed like COVID, like a lot of the public was
and
winning
the empty
last year.
stadiums too, probably too, right?
Yeah, but a lot of public bets came in last year.
Another one I'm looking at was the Chicago by 2 at home against Cincinnati, right? Like Cincy coming off that win in week 1. You look back, and like this is what I was saying. At the beginning of the year, really, I think if you can figure out teams, like let's say the Raiders are for real this year, and you've actually figured out they're a good team, this is where you make your money at the beginning of the year before the line, before Vegas and everybody else adjusts to what the teams actually are, right? Buffalo's another one, but guys, I think what we'll do is we'll wrap up this one. We'll get together on Saturday, maybe Saturday morning. We'll do the betting show again and wrapped up week 2, and we look forward to week 3. So we'll do a bit of a preview at that point and do gambling there. For Brandon, Rob, Igor, and myself, Joe. Thank you for tuning in, guys.
Still sucks. Matt Nagy still sucks, right, Brandon?
Matt Nagy is the worst, man.
I love him.
Worst.
He got me a cover.
In there. Come on.
He got you covered. I get that.
Rolling.
Okay. One thing I gotta say. He literally said after the game, "Oh, Andy Dalton's still our quarterback. He's just injured, but Justin Fields is going to be our starter next week." But Andy Dalton's still. I don't think I hate anything more than Matt Nagy, so I'm just gonna stop. Stop saying.
This is chance to rise.
This is the chance.
Yeah.
Okay. And Andy beat my Cincinnati Bengals, of course, but the defense played great. I'll give him the thing. The Chicago Bears will only have a good defense. Their offense will never be good. It's all because of Matt Nagy. It's all his fault. It's only him. I'm telling you right now.
It could have been 10 minutes on this.
How good was that meme that I sent to the lock screen?
Yeah, it was really good. He's the worst offense ever.
Andy Dalton's on the beach. Like, how can I fuck up this offense this week?
Matt Nagy.
There you go.
Matt Nagy's the absolute worst. Anyways,
that's how you end the show.
There we go, guys. All right.
He's the Peter Griffin what really grinds my gears. All right, guys. Thanks for tuning in. September 22nd, 2021. And we'll see you guys on Saturday. Take care.